people might see it, right? And that's okay by Richard. There's enough clues. We didn't put the exact addresses and locations on the map for the High Line or for the Whitney, because if you told you where it was, there'd be no sense of discovery. So that, of course, reduces significantly the quantity of people that would see this blip and find it. But there'll be a couple people who do, and that's just fine. And then other ones are in much more visible spots, easy to find. It's actually really for the average guy. And actually for the average guy and all those elite people too. So literally the blip on the smokestack is to get people to see that smokestack. So that's like an incredible relic of architecture in this landscape, and most people won't notice it who walk on the High Line. So that blip hopefully will catch the corner of their eye and they'll see that thing in this moment in time. And maybe then they'll think about what actually happened in this neighborhood before all these apartment buildings went up, that there was, light industry and mid-level industry that blanketed this whole neighborhood. Richard wants people to see the Avenue School. That's why there's a blip on the roof of this building. Great building. People might then say, well, what's in that building? It had one purpose a long time ago, and now it's this amazing school. And so people will then notice this building out of all the buildings that's along the High Line, and that's his motivation. Richard Artschwager is 88 years old, and he's still making art. And in his life, he's made over 1,000 artworks. Richard's work is about trying to bring how I physically feel the world and how I see the world together when I encounter his artwork. And the blips are a big part of that. Richard doesn't become an artist until he's 40 years old. He was a furniture maker for a long time, but he felt like he was doing something that was really useless. Even though what he made was beautiful, he was not connected to it anymore and felt he didn't want to spend his life doing that. And so he decided to become an artist and make things that were truly useless, that had no function in the world. That was a big motivation for him. And so that he actually could connect to the thing instead of the purpose the object had. And so he considers some of his artworks, like the blip, the most successful work he's made because it's utterly useless. The blip cannot be enjoyed as a picture. It cannot function as a sculpture. It is just a diacritical mark in the world. It kind of is like a period moving in a little bit of time. It's ephemeral. They all will go away eventually. And it serves a purpose of getting your attention to just your life. It's not something you can own. Can't be traded. Anyone can make one, and it can be put anywhere to sort of assert your own value system. So the blips traveled all around the world in the last 50 years. In New York, we wanted to do like a public project of the blips. This is the very first big public blip that Richard did in 1968. He bribed a security guard at this power plant on the east side around 14th Street and was able to put up this blip on the top of the smokestack, which existed there for like many, many years. It was like a signature image in the New York landscape there. And so we worked with a building here at 30th Street, and they let us blip their smokestack. And that blip will be up for at least 15 years, which is really cool. So when the High Line blip project disappears, and people will still walk along the High Line and be like, what's up with that little thing? Why is that there? And be able to sort of wonder about what someone was trying to draw their attention to. Here along the High Line, there's a huge range of materials. It's problem solving on site. So on the Whitney crane, those are magnets. They were not willing to put a decal on their crane. So we actually researched and figured out these, the sort of industrial magnets that are just sucked onto the side of the crane. On the Standard Hotel, those are made out of vinyl. Those are huge vinyl blips. They're like, 3 feet. The blip that's here on the Avenue School and on the David Nolan Gallery, those are the same kind of material. It's called Sintra. So here's a blip. They are as lowbrow as you possibly could imagine. These get produced off a vinyl cutting printer from a sign guy. As Richard says, it's the middle-class man's graffiti. He created them in 1968 when he was teaching at UC Davis out in California. And you'll see there's a little blip in a bus stop there. And Richard was interested in having the blip not exist as an artwork per se, but as something that would draw our attention to the world. So when you see a blip, you'll notice the blip, but then, there's not really that much to look at for that long, is then you start to look around where that blip was. So you see the buildings, you might see some other people, You might notice the weather or the horizon line off the high line, and that's the purpose of the blip. So Richard just wants to catch up people by surprise who don't even know that those are blips.